Happy Monday. Today's topic is ask why, not who. And I wish that I could say that I came up with this, but I didn't. I don't have a copy of it with me here, but I have a daily reader. It's the John Maxwell Daily Reader, and it's a leadership devotional that I read every morning. The topic of today's entry was ask why, not who. And it really got me reflecting on how I have evolved and how I look at challenges, obstacles, the low moments, the high moments. And, I used to be someone that would clearly point the finger at everybody else. It was always someone else's fault. For a lot of years, everything was my mom's fault. And when I started this journey of becoming a new me, I remember someone said to me, when are you going to stop looking at all the things that your mother didn't do for you? When are you going to start looking at the things that your mother did for you and stop only looking at the things that she didn't? And that's when my relationship with my mom started to change. When I started to realize that she was doing the best that she could with what she had and focusing on the things that she did do for me, it changed the trajectory of our relationship. And so, what's really interesting is that as I started recapping this, I started asking myself, well, how did I get there? How did I get to a point where I stopped asking whose fault it was, or who did this to me, or who harmed me, or what did they do? And I started asking myself, well, why is this happening? What is there to learn from this? Where can I grow through this? And I've always said that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. And the teacher will remain until the lesson is learned. So the lesson is mine to learn, and I can choose to learn it with this individual in this situation, or I can choose not to learn it and another situation and another individual is going to appear at some point with the same lesson. And so, a couple of steps that I started taking, and guys, I am not perfect by any means. There is still plenty of days that I am asking who instead of why. Yet, the majority of the time, I am now able to pause, take a minute, and ask myself internally why something is happening versus who's causing it or pointing the finger or blaming someone else. you know a really smart group of individuals taught me that when I'm disturbed, it's because I find a certain person, place, or a situation, something in my life that's unacceptable to me. When I am disturbed, it's something within me. And until I get to a place of acceptance and accepting that person, place, or thing as being exactly the way it is supposed to be at that moment, I will never have peace. So the first thing I learned is I have to get into acceptance. I have to get into acceptance around the things that I have absolutely no control over. And so it's asking myself, why is this happening, and what can I control in this situation, and what do I need to release or detach from that I cannot control? Basically, what do I need to accept? Right? I was just on a call with someone and I said, what is the worst thing that could happen? And they said, this person could get angry. And I said, okay, what if they do? Then what? Well, I'll do this. Well, then just accept the fact that they could get angry. And if they do, this is what you're going to do. Yet it requires us to slow down and think through that and talk through that. And that's why it's so important to have people in our life that can get us back into logic. Because when we make emotional reactive decisions, we don't have clarity. We're acting in fear. We're in fear of losing something we want or not getting something that we have. And so we have to get out of the emotion and back into logic in order to move closer to acceptance and in order to ask why and learn the lessons. The who question is an emotional based question. The why question is logic based. So by asking why is this happening, we're triggering the logical side of our brain, which will then allow us to make the right decisions going forward based on logic and not emotion. And then next is, asking yourself, what's the story that I'm creating around this person, place, or thing? Right? The thing that I'm asking Whose fault is it? What's the story that I've created around them? What's the evidence that I'm collecting to support that story? Is there past evidence that I'm bringing back into my space and into my energy that's supporting this story so that I can continue to go down this rabbit hole of, for me, a little crazy, right? And so asking yourself why it's happening, how do I get into logic, and what stories do I need to reverse in order to be in logic to learn the lessons that I need to learn from this situation, because that's all I have control over. And by staying in the who and staying in the blame game, I'm wasting energy. I'm putting negative energy into that space. And we only have 24 hours in a day. And so every minute that you're spending pouring into that negative energy is time that you're not spending pouring into something positive and something that's going to benefit you. And guys, listen, I'm preaching to myself. I'm reminding myself out loud right now. And then I think the last step for me was that I had to stop expecting people to be something they're not. I had to accept people for who they are and where they are in their journey. And sometimes that means that we may not be on the same journey together right now. It might mean that I need to cause a little separation or I need to take a step back, because if I don't, I'm not managing my expectations, which means that expectations are premeditated resentments. So when my expectations of people are too high or too little sometimes, I'm just building resentment, which is going to create story, which is going to get me into the who, which is going to keep me out of the why, which is going to keep me from growing. And so I hope this was helpful. I wanted to share it with you guys because I think that, especially right now, getting into a very crazy time, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of things happening, the world's starting to open back up, and just challenging you to ask, why are these things happening, rather than who is causing them or who should be justified or who should be punished. Asking yourself, why is this happening in my realm, and what can I learn through it? How can I grow through it? And what's the lessons? And if you guys ever want some help talking through that, reach out to me. Like I said, it's really important to have people in your life. They're going to get you back into logic and remove you from that emotion. If you go to people that pour in to that emotion and feed it, if you feed it, it will grow. And trust me, as someone that has studied emotional intelligence, is still on the path to mastery around it, emotion doesn't get anyone anywhere. The most emotional person in the conversation is going to lose the conversation. The most logical person in the conversation is going to walk away feeling detached, calm. They've learned their lessons, and they're going to be able to move on without bringing all of that energy with them. So I hope this helps. If you have any questions, reach out. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.